Can't be scared.
I'm trying to move the house.
I used to have to tell Ann Urban, she'd say too.
Are we all here? Are you ready, Eric?
Mike, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Everybody got so quiet, wasn't that nice?
It won't last.
Yeah, that's very unusual.
Kenny? Kenny? All right, I got you on speaker here in front of the group.
Okay.
Okay, we're all set. Tonight is our Meet the Candidates night. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Skip Zimmerman. I'm this, excuse me, Vice President of the Board. And we'll lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance if he's already. Thank you. For those of you who don't know him, this is Paul Schroeder. He's going to be our moderator tonight. Paul is the past president of the board.
Oh, that's Paul.
Thank you, Skip. You guys, Mike and Kenny, can you hear all right?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I couldn't hear the other guy.
That's your fellow board member, Skip.
Oh, okay.
Before we get started, okay, thanks, guys. Before we get started, I'd just like to ask any of you who are interested and are going to be here through the holidays, and particularly through Christmas. The annual meeting is just before Christmas, and that's when we will actually tabulate the votes to see who we're going to elect from these prospective candidates. And we need about 14 people. I think there's 11 people signed up right now, so if there's any of you that are interested in that, we still need about 3 people to fill out what we need. We designed our own little system back in 2011, and it's worked pretty well. We haven't had any hiccups with it. It's not rocket science. You don't need to be afraid of it. It's just people working together to tabulate the votes in an effective manner. And again, we have about 3 or 4 openings, and if you would, put your phone number on behind your name, so when we're getting ready to contact you, we will have at least 1 and possibly 2 little sample run-throughs, so and very close to the night of the actual annual meeting, so it's fresh in your minds. The other thing I'd like to get to, I was sitting in the board meeting last Wednesday, and there was some new members, obviously, in our community, and they were a little bit unsure of what was going on. Is there anybody in here that is not totally comfortable that they know actually what we're doing tonight and why we're here and what it's going to lead to, or are all of you pretty comfortable? Does anybody would like a brief refresher before we get into this? You all know what we're doing? That's good. He is, do I? Okay. Tonight we have a little bit of an unusual situation. Yeah. Couldn't hear, Kenny?
Actually, Paul, I'm not sure your mic is.
Maybe I'm not speaking into.
Well, you're a great public speaker and you care.
He can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
we're all right then. Tonight we have 6 candidates that are running for 4 positions. We have a little bit of a unique situation in that every other year we have 4 people coming off the board who have completed a 2-year term. And then the following year, which is next year, obviously, we'll have 3 people coming off the board to be reelected. And I don't ever remember in my 12 years here when we've actually had as many as 4 people coming off and the same 4 people running. So we have 4 what we would refer to obviously as incumbent people, and that is Tommy McIntyre, Scott Harris, and then on the phones are Kenny Jerome and Michael Allen. And then the 2 new gentlemen who have expressed an interest to be on the board are Bill England and John Frickin. And as a community member, I very much respect and appreciate people who are willing to serve our community and give of their time. We actually need a lot more of it than we're able to get, but at this time I'd like you to join me in just thanking these gentlemen for their willingness to put the time. With that, then, I'm going to have Eric come up and explain to us and review the voting procedure that we'll be putting in place. You probably, if you haven't got if you didn't pick up your packets personally down here yet, you'll be getting them in the mail shortly. And in there you will find the ballots that Eric will explain how to use.
And then you got that packet of paper in the mail, and there's a lot of important information there. The 2 most important documents that you have, one is the proxy form. This is where you'll vote on the 2 amendments to the declaration, 1 amendment to the declaration, 1 to the bylaws, and then also the fire sprinklers, rolling over our excess operating money, and waiving, whether or not to waive the audit. We need to get at least 232 of these back in order to have an annual meeting. So please fill out and return your proxy. The other important document is the ballot. You'll see that the 6 candidates are listed in alphabetical order. You are to mark an X on the line next to the name of the candidates you choose. You can vote for up to 4. If after tonight you decide you only like 2 of these guys, you can vote for only 2 of them. But do not vote for more than 4. Do not make any extra marks on this ballot. If you do, then we have to call your vote invalid. And we want to be able to count every vote. So just X's, up to 4 X's on the side. Now, the confusing part is when it comes to the envelopes. You've got 3 envelopes. You've probably been looking at these wondering, what do I do with them? They're labeled envelope 1, envelope 2, and then the proxy return envelope. So once you make your votes, once you decide who you're going to vote for, this ballot alone goes in envelope 1. Just hold it up and put it in. And then seal that envelope. Then this envelope 1 sealed goes inside of envelope 2. This is to create where we can't have tampering. Or we know it's a legitimate election. So they're double sealed envelope. Envelope 1 goes inside envelope 2. You seal that, and then in the top here, you print, you put your unit number, and you sign. This is all that goes in these 2 envelopes. The 3rd envelope, if you're mailing back in, this seal can go in your 3rd envelope, along with your proxy separate, not enclosed. We need to tally the proxy votes prior to the meeting and know how many we have. So separate, and then you can mail all this back together, or you can drop it off to us. If you have any questions about the voting procedure or anything else regarding this, please see me or let us know. Are there any questions now?
Explain the proxy.
The proxy? Yeah. On the proxy, you're going to fill in at the top here, there's a space for your address. And then you have the option of either making your own votes for these 5 items. You can elect a proxy, meaning you can fill in a name here, anybody who you want to vote in your place. Or if you don't vote and you leave this blank, your vote automatically goes to the president of the board, and he will make your votes prior to the annual meeting. So if you don't feel that you're educated enough on these items, you don't know, and you want to give it to somebody who is, you can pass it along to a neighbor or a friend, or you can elect to give your vote to the president or make your votes yourself. If you have questions about the specific items, let me know, and I'll be happy to sit down with you and go over them one by one, okay?
You just told me I couldn't vote on that front page.
No, you misunderstood. You misunderstood. I'd be happy to sit down with you tomorrow.
Okay.
If you want tomorrow morning, come down, or another day, but I'd be happy to explain to you. But you did vote, when you turned it in, you did vote on these items.
Yeah, I voted on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, okay?
That's
All right.
all.
All right, that's all. If you have any questions, see me. The important thing is, everybody has to do it right in order for your vote to be counted. So, we want to make sure everybody's vote is valid.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, now we'll get down to the business at hand. I'm just gonna go right down the table here. We're gonna start out, and I'd like you to try to do this in 3 minutes or less. I know 3 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but when you start timing it, 3 minutes is quite a long time to talk. I'd like you to basically, each one of you, introduce yourself, tell us briefly about yourself, and then tell us why you're interested in running for the board. Name, a little bit about, and then why you'd like to be on the board. Tommy, we'll start with you.
My name is Tommy McIntyre. I'm currently president of the board for the last 2 years. I've been on the board for a total of 6 years, and I just feel that this is a service that I enjoy. My first 2 years, I was a little disappointed because I took things personally rather than let it see the other people's point of view, I guess. So anyway, I think that we have had a very constructive board. We get along well with each other, and I would be proud to be on the board again, whether it's as the president or as a director. That's up to the final board to choose who they want to be in their different positions. Most of you know me or seen me around someplace, and I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I don't get too upset anymore. I'm learning to live with myself as well as with others. So that's about it. Thanks.
Scott?
Hi, I'm Scott Harris. I'm looking at the room. I think most of you know me or talked to me while we've worked together. We've worked here about 12 years now. I was on committees before. About 10 years ago, we started getting Pine Ridge in order. So we're building on what we did, and I got inspired by some of the people to step forward and stand for the board. The first time I ran, everybody hated me. I wasn't elected. I went home. I cried myself to sleep. And then I got over it. And the next year, somebody said, well, you got to run. And I said, why? And everybody hates me. He said, no, you got to prove you're serious. So I did, and I was elected. I'm the first term member of the board. You get a lot of places people have been on the board 8, 10, whatever years. 2 years. I've discovered, surprising myself, that this is actually something I'm a little bit good at. And I'd like to continue at least for another term. So what this vote is about for me is a confidence vote. If you feel like I've done the job properly, then vote for it. If you don't, then you'll stand. I look around the place. I started out with the landscape, and with landscape, anyway, when we started, it was a mess, and everybody looked around, and it was like, where do we even start? 10 years later, we just had a landscape meeting. Our major decision was about mulch. Now, it wasn't about buying mulch because the budget committee they'd done the reserves, we got the money. So our decision was, what color mulch? And that's how far we've come. And I want to continue to work with that. And I've still got it in me. I still want to do it. And so I have, and really that's it. And Paul got me into this. And I just find, yes, no, it's you, because you inspired me. And I love this community, and I like how it comes from the bottom up, because the bottom down communities are bankrupt, they're falling apart.
15 seconds.
And the bottom up communities thrive. Go Panther.
Okay, Mr. Fricker.
Hello, my name is John Fricker, and my wife and I came here this last summer, actually a year ago. These winters and summers here get me all mixed up. Okay, thanks. And my first impression of Florida is I told my wife after renting a condo for 2 years, 3 years actually, I decided I am not buying in Florida. No way. We live in Indiana. I love it up there. But Carol Stumer bought a villa here, and we came over to see it. And quite honestly, folks, after seeing it that first day, I decided, let's look for it. A couple days later, she called us and told us there was one up for sale. It turns out it's right across the street, and we ended up buying it within a couple weeks. My impression of this place is it's a diamond hidden in the rough. I decided that coming through the association here and seeing how everything was being run, I really liked it. I wanted to be part of it. So I guess the only thing I have to say now is that I'd like to be a part of this. I'd like to help wherever I can. I find out now, or just found out just the other day from Eric, that we're not actually going or trying to set up the position now. It will be done after the voting is completed. But for me, that works out great because I don't know what's going on here, but I just want to learn. So for me, the first year or two will be a learning experience. So that's it. I'm willing to help and do that wherever I can.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm Bill England. We've lived here for about 3.5 years. We started looking actually up in Tampa before we came here. We just kept coming right on down trying to get below the frost line. We finally made that, but we went, even in this area, we looked at 5 or 6 different locations. But when we came here, we ended up coming back 3 times and eventually ended up buying. We really liked it. We like it here now, and we want to continue living here. It's like you said, it's a diamond in a rough place, but the rough edges are really getting knocked off of it quick. I talked with Eric and listened to him once say when he first came here, he almost turned around and left, that it looks bad at that time. I know it looks good now. I'd hate to see what it looked like then. We really enjoy it here. Why do I want to be a board member? Is really I want to know what's going on. And one way of knowing what's going on in the association is to become part of the board. That way you get to know a lot of behind the scenes activity that's going on. What's going on with the rules committees and like I said, the landscape committees and all these different things. And I just want to be a part of this community. I worked for 43 years at the same company and gave a whole lot of time into that. And now this is my playtime. But I'm willing to volunteer that time that it takes now to do this. And you've got to volunteer a lot of time from what I've seen some of these other people do. It's not just a come to a meeting, board meeting once a month and forget about it. And I don't plan on doing that. All I do is just ask for your vote. And if you don't want to vote for me, that's fine. You know, I'll try it again the next time. But I just want to be part of it. I want to know what's going on. Thank you.
Mike. Okay, Mr. Loudon, you're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah?
Okay, well, I bought a place in Pine Ridge about 5 years ago. And I was encouraged to run for the board soon after that, so I ran for the board and ran unopposed, so I won. All I needed was one vote, so I knew I'd make it. I've been on the board for 4 years now, and first of all, I'm a Christian. Second of all, I am very reasonable, and I listen to others. I'm not overly dominant as far as forcing my opinions on people. And I think I work well with the board, and I just would like to continue some of the things that we've started and continue the process of making the place better for everyone as a whole and also individually for the individual owner. So I feel that running for the board again, I would like to continue doing that. And the experience I've seen throughout that time on the board has helped me to understand how it works. And I probably have talked to the majority of the people that come to parties and meetings and swimming pool, and so I get around a lot, and I'm willing to talk to most people or anyone about anything, about any time, regardless if I'm on my time or the board's time. So I just feel that I would still be really interested in staying on board and continuing to help the community out.
Okay, Mike, thank you. Mr. Jerome.
Okay, my name is Ken Jerome. Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been on the board since 2013. The first term, I was filling in for somebody that they got sick and they had an opening. And then the second time I ran, and won. I was pleased with that because it made me feel like I did a good job. But I originally got involved in the Young Sexual Committee because before we drew up a manual, it was very difficult to know what you could do to your unit, what the rules were, and everything seemed like it was kind of up in the air, or maybe it was the board's discretion. And I was caught in the middle because I was trying to do things to my villa, and it took me over 2 years to get the proper approval. Now, since we developed an architectural review manual, everything is pretty much in writing. And also, if people have any questions, and I've helped people when they're extending Illinois, what they can do in interpreting the manual. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people that wanted to do something rather than keep them from doing something. Now, I'm the chairman of the Safety and Security Committee, and I'm proud to say that we've done a pretty good job. You know, we've reacted to any concerns of the people. We put barriers in on the east side of the lake to prevent people from coming over the fence because we would have to cross there. And also, we're adding lighting that we have had for years, and we still continue to do that, which makes it safer. I also was on the sucked into it. I guess Eric has a good way of getting me involved. And I felt like we did a pretty good job. We established our goals, and then we looked at different companies to provide us TV and internet. And we decided that our goal at that time was to get more service and less money. That's what we did. We got high definition TV and we got a lower rate. I think we saved over $40,000 a year. So we're real proud of that. That'll be coming up, I think, in another 5 years. So I feel like, we've been pretty transparent with everybody. Had everybody that wanted to go to the meeting. Anybody that wanted to join the committee, we invited. So nobody really felt left out. So I just like the idea of helping the community, helping people, like, help neighbors, because I'm pretty handy, and if I can help them, I help them with installing a faucet or a toilet or whatever. But I think that's one of my major thrusts is, just to help our residents, and I'd like to help them for another 2 years. So I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Okay, there's obviously 2 items on the agenda. I'm gonna ask the members just one question, and then when we get through with this segment, then I'm gonna turn it over to you people, and by a show of hands, anybody that has a question for any of these gentlemen or the group, feel free to ask it. The board obviously has a tremendous responsibility in guiding our community. This is about a $2 million a year business, and the decisions this board makes year in and year out can either positively or adversely affect our property values. And they've got a great deal of responsibility, and they have many goals and objectives. And I would like each one of you to tell us, in your opinion, what is the primary goal or the primary objective that you're trying to accomplish. I'm going to give you some thought starters. There is no right or wrong answer. You may have something totally different in mind from the things that I bring up here, and that's fine. But I've got, on the environmental side, I've got written down here transparency, increased community involvement, security of the membership. From a business posture, one of your objectives is probably going to be operating within the confines of the budget, keeping the dues at a minimum, keeping property values up, making Pine Ridge the most attractive place to live in we can possibly make it in order to keep the units full and spread the expenses over the broadest base possible, funding reserves at 100%. Those are all very important business items, but they also are diametrically, some of them are diametrically opposed to each other. In other words, you can't say, well, this is important without having to give a little bit on this one. So I would like you to, again, in 3 minutes, just briefly tell us if you had to pick one, and you don't have to go with these. These are just things that I wrote down as thought starters, but kind of try to give us what your particular idea of the most important objective of the board might be. Tommy, we'll start again with you.
Okay, the reason I'm running again is I feel that I've left a lot of irons in the fire, and I like to see these things come to fruition. We're still working on our approach to the community as far as the Orange River Boulevard goes. This is very slow, but I think we're starting to talk a little bit. And we have, I really want to see how this new gate system is going to work. From what I see right now, it's working out pretty well. And so basically, I know there will be new challenges as we come along, but I've been able to, along with the board, meet these challenges. I think we can solve the problems that arise. And therefore, I just don't feel like I've finished my job.
Okay, thank you, Tommy, appreciate it. Scott?
Yeah, Paul, what was that number you started with? That cash number?
I can't, what?
What was the cash number you started with?
About $2 million.
$2 million. Okay. After I got elected to the board, I sat straight up in bed one night because I suddenly realized I had been elected to the board of directors of a $50 million corporation. Eric can correct me on this because in the last 2 years, our equity has probably increased to $70 or $75 million. That's how much money we have in this place. And that's humbling, and that changes your outlook considerably. I'm a numbers kid. I'm kind of autistic that way. It's just that's what I do, and that's the way I approach this job. The prime directive of the board of directors of Condominium Association is a fiduciary duty. That's it. In plain English, that's just good stewardship. In simple English is you don't let the wheels fall off the bus. And that's what we do. Like I said, mentioned before, the ideas come up from the communities. What kind of community do you want to have? And generally, it's a simple problem. At the microphone, somebody comes up, we can do that. We'll give you an answer as soon as we can. Hopefully that answer is a solution. If it's more complicated, then it goes to committee, like Ken with working out the Comcast deal. We learned so much that we didn't know before. And that's what you do. And we're hoping, and it just comes up to us. And hopefully most of the time, we're just ratifying the consensus opinion. Boom. When the gavel drops, and it's like everybody's happy. Sometimes we have to work out a compromise because there are differences in the community. So it can take months, it can take years until we come to a compromise that looks like a consensus. Some people are going to feel left out at the end. I know that feeling. I've been there. But when the gavel comes down, we're 100% behind it because it's the best judgment of the entire community. And that was one of the surprises of this job that I found out. It's just that's it. It's just the community's spirit. And that's all we do here. So, and I'm hoping to do it 2 more years. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the first things that I've noticed when we came onto the site here was the fact that with my wife and I out in the evenings, when we started walking around, or just my wife coming back from the pool area, especially as it's getting dark earlier now, the security bothered me. And that's one of the things that I've always been a nut, even around my own house up in Indiana. Security to me is one of the most important things when you have a home, whether you're secure or you're feeling secure, whether you worry about noises at night bothering you, things like lights right here now. Eric and I have talked about that several times, and there is a project to work on that. One of the other things that has just happened to me that I'm going to say this seems like this summer, October, since we were here this year, is the entryway and the exit way, especially going out of this plant. You can tell I'm...
Well, it's
yeah.